So Chet Hagenbarth, town manager for the town of Killington. Thanks for joining me for our little Zoom interview meetings here. I know you and I have talked about this in a couple of different meetings, but running a municipality and being able to be open and available to the public during the COVID pandemic is pretty challenging. And I know from the standpoint of what you've had to do in limiting people coming into town hall and limiting that interaction has been somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but actually, the public has been very accommodating to it, and we actually were lucky enough that we were very close to going live with our GIS system, which has a lot of the property information online. We actually went live a little ahead of schedule. We still have a couple of glitches in there, but it's been great because people can do most of their search work online between looking at the land records, anything from 1980 to current, you can do online. And then any GIS, which would have your lister cards and things of that nature, are now accessible online. The only thing that needs to be searched is anything pre-1980, which is typically limited to title companies and things of that nature. So if they submit us a request during this time, we are going into the vault and doing the research and then scanning and emailing it out. So for the most part, we've been able to do everything remotely. People have been very good about the dog licenses. We do have a drop box right here at the front of town hall, and people have dropped their checks and their requests, and we can either mail them to them or we've had them delivered. And then also we have the same thing with the transfer station, and then the passes they have. People are paying for those up front, and then we will send the passes over to be picked up at the transfer station, so they don't have to come into town hall.
So how are you?
Transfer station has been very busy.
Yeah, I can. People are cleaning out their homes. I know that I've done my basement and garage, and I'm going on to the attic next.
So yeah, a lot of spring cleaning going on.
Yeah. How are you dealing with, being able to conduct town business, and I'm thinking about select board meetings, abiding by open meeting laws, taking public comment? How are you meeting that challenge?
Well, the open meeting law, even prior to this event, you can have a remote open meeting, but you do have to have a primary location where at least one person sits, and then you have to there's some special voting procedures and things of that nature related to it. During this restrictions, the state has modified the open meeting law to say we no longer have to have a primary location to allow the public to attend. So we had our first select board meeting on April 7th via Zoom. It actually went very well. We had quite a few people attend, maybe actually even more than normal because they didn't have to come to the meeting. But it went well. We were able to conduct our business from a meeting perspective. We were able to accomplish some things. Might be a little bit more of a discussion on the 21st meeting because that one is where the rental registration program is back on the agenda. So it'll be probably a little busier for that purpose. But overall, and at town hall, staff we have basically like a rotating schedule. We're trying not to all be here at the same time. There's usually one of the two clerks on the clerk side, and then Mona or myself on this side. And we're working. You're in the office 5-6 hours, and then we're out. We're trying to make sure we're still answering the phones and things of that nature, and all of the basic business is still occurring. The town highway garage has been when they couldn't be working outside, they've been staying home. We have not been having them come in. We're finally getting some weather today that's going to allow us to do some outside work. We got to start getting some culverts cleaned up and some ditches cleaned out. Sorry about that. But we are operating with the social distancing and operating with masks and things of that nature, and trying to keep everybody separate. There's going to be no sharing trucks, no sharing equipment, things of that nature. But technically, as of today, we're quasi back in business. If we have a rain day where everybody has to be in the garage, that will be a call-out day.
That makes sense. I mean, there's a certain amount of work that has to be done throughout, the springtime. Otherwise, when you get there's a lot of work and a lot of maintenance that has to occur.
Yeah, and I apologize for my internet connection. We're on the Wi-Fi at Town Hall, and that's not doing very well, evidently.
That, that's okay. I want to talk about another big project that is ongoing and has been ongoing for a while is the town public safety building that's on the Killington Road. You were on schedule, on budget. With you had shared with me that you did have to shut things down there. Where does that project stand? Where does that put the overall the budget, the finish date? Where does that put things now?
Well, as far as there's several pieces of that. Actually, it's unfortunate. We were like 3 days from being enclosed. But we were lucky enough that it happened late enough in the season. We don't have to worry about frost. So we are not currently heating the sections of the building that we were. We don't have to worry about frost in the ground and any of that damage. While there's still some administrative work going on, everything else has been shut down. I do anticipate that building being able to pretty much pick up and start where it left off and whatever time we lost, which if you go by the May 15th date, we'll be optimistic and say that will work. That would put us about 6 weeks later, which would put us into probably mid-September for completion. There will be some costs associated with it. I don't anticipate it, won't be any subcontractor costs. Their contracts aren't being adjusted at this point. There just would probably be some, there are some equipment and some things that are rented on site and things like that will continue. And we are doing, the architects and the contractors are still working on the paperwork side of things. So there will be some costs associated with that. I don't anticipate a big number for that. I'm thinking in the $30,000 to $40,000 range might be the concern, but it's not a huge issue.
It's not hundreds of thousands.
No, we're not looking at that. Actually, the hundreds of thousands are over between the state and the ledge.
So we've already been past that. Okay.
Yeah, we're beyond the where the real causes of issues were. So at this point, it's just when does it get done and how does it affect availability of contractors could be an issue at this point. And like the concrete contractors were supposed to pour the very next day when this got shut off, and they had to lay off their whole crew. Don't know what that's going to do to the schedule after that.
To bring people back on, right?
Yeah, because the electricians, the plumbers, and the fire sprinkler companies typically they're all considered essential businesses, so they didn't have to close down. Where concrete was like, boom, we're done.
Yeah.
So there's certain areas that may be affected that may affect schedule going forward, but we're optimistic that in listening to the orders that have come out of the governor's office, I'm fairly confident that things will start to loosen up at that May 15th date, because they've already said, and I think they anticipated as well, because they said, you can start taking hotel reservations as of June 15th. So when you're putting that in the mix, and they're not going to do it all at once, you got to think at least the stay-at-home order may actually come up on the 15th, and they're still going to keep the distancing. They may still require the masks and the gloves and all of that, but at least we can start to get out and do some things.
So besides people cleaning their yards and basements and garages, people are trying to get out and get some exercise. And I know that the recreation department within the town have put in some parameters and has put in some policies as people are getting out and utilizing the trails, utilizing the recreation facilities to once again protect the public. I wonder if you comment about that.
Well, I mean, basically, we have not taken any action on trying to close any of the facilities. I mean, my hope is hopefully this week Jeff will be starting doing his cleanup of the site, so maybe we'll be getting some tennis nets up in a few weeks, and the people have already been on the basketball court, but for notification purposes we put some signs up. We just want people to be aware, we're not out cleaning the slides and things like that. They need to be aware that they're certainly welcome to use any of this and to make sure they keep their distances, but we're not maintaining everything at this point. It'll depend on what the state does as to when we can actually open, like the bathhouse, as far as bathrooms and things like that. So we don't currently have any bathroom facilities open and things of that nature, but we are not trying to close it. As far as the bike paths go, technically the state opens those normally on May 1st. We're waiting to hear when we would be able to open that, and we're working to prepare the golf course hopefully to be able to get it open the second half of May, and not so much for the benefit of the golf course, but to give people some things to do, because we believe that, you know, of all the different sports and things we have in town, people going out on a golf cart, on the golf court, we certainly have plenty of separation. And, you know, if the restrictions would exist around the clubhouse, whether or not we can open the restaurant, whether or not we can use the store, but having people being able to go out and use the facility would be a benefit to the community, you know, to
Sure.
just get out and do something.
Sure.
Oh, and,
So-
and on that note, we did put up some signs so people are aware. It's been getting a lot of walking traffic this year, so we did have to actually put up a sign and remind people that as of April 20th, the Monday, dogs will not be allowed on the golf course going forward, because we won't be cleaning that up as well. So we're just trying to get people ready, but hopefully it looks like things are moving in a good direction. Actually, the golf course, when they started taking the covers and things off, it's in pretty good shape, better than last year. So hopefully we'll be able to make that happen.
So Governor Phil Scott, governor of the state of Vermont, has used the expression, and I think I'll get it right, opening the spigot a quarter turn at a time. It sounds really.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that, only because it kind of went out on my Wi-Fi.
So I was saying Governor Scott has used the expression, you know, opening the spigot a quarter turn at a time. And that sounds like a lot that you're mimicking the same thing, that's slowly bringing things back online and doing it in a responsible way.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking to do. We want to stay in line with that, because I mean, I would like to thank our community and even the entire state for, you know, the vast majority of people are trying to follow the requirements and the recommendations, and it is going to dramatically shorten the length of time we have to do this. So if we're responsible in how we put it back, I think we'll be okay going forward.